So we have a gentleman that has sent us a replay. White Tiger. He was in a match that we played earlier, and I guess he got nailed by the Saipan for like 15k or something. So we're probably going to see that, and we're going to see if there's anything, any options that he had. So first things first, let's go ahead and add aerial detection and AA. So aerial's 3.3, AA's 3.5. One thing I want to point out real quick, because this is something that is not known widely. So if you are in a destroyer and your AA, that's not what I wanted. If your detection range is, we'll do this. We'll say this is 3.3. That, oh, come on. Make that bigger. You've got a 3.3 kilometer detection range. So if planes are coming in, this is where you are detected on the mini map. You are not automatically detected on the screen. There's something which I term rendering delay, which means your computer is going to send off to the server, and then the server is going to compute, yep, you can see it now, and then it's going to go back, and it's okay, cool, and then your computer's going to render it, which takes about half a second, maybe 0.6 of a second. So by the time that happens, your rendering delay, that's a little dramatic there, didn't mean to go that far, is probably in here, which means your actual lighting time is like 2.7. 2.7 is a significant distance. It is. But for a lot of CVs, they need something like 3 to 4 kilometers to make a rocket strike. 2.7 is less than 3. So even if, oh shit, I'm spotted, they immediately cut into a rocket strike. This is where they can see you. They might have to alter, they might have to turn. It's going to cause them to de-aim. Or more likely, shit, they overfly, they fly off, and then they come back in for a return strike. But the rendering delay is an important part of the destroyer jousting, where you can get under the guns of rocket planes or force them to take suboptimal lines. So that is something that's very important, and I wanted to go ahead and put that out. Okay, so take this at maybe a third speed. Okay, so first thing, I'm just going to point this out because you are in a destroyer and this is a CV match. The first thing that happened is you went to full speed. In a game that does not have a CV, that's a perfectly normal thing to do. Perfectly fine. Nobody's going to spot you. Who gives a shit? However, in a CV match, you and a destroyer will out-accelerate the cruisers and battleships behind you. And the Fantasque does not have great AA. Its AA is not fantastique. So the further you run away, the less help you have. Now, you do have an Edinburgh, which is like 2.5 clicks. So, hey, you got a little something there. The biggest reason I point this out is not to say that you as a destroyer can't run ahead of your team. But looking at what the Fantasque has, first off, your AA ain't great. Just gonna tell you, it's 3.5 range. It's not long range. It ain't strong. Secondly, you don't have a smoke. So if you do get your shit called, you are gonna be forced to joust with the enemy CV planes. And third, your aerial detection at 3.3 is actually bad. 3.0 is... We just went over what the rendering delay was, but if they have an idea of where you are, they can prep the strike in the idea of where you are, see you roughly a time after, and correct it. This may not, depending on how the CV plays, this may not generate an overfly, depending. So you got a lot of strikes against you. This is a very powerful boat, but not against planes. So I wouldn't suggest rocketing off full speed at the start, unless maybe you were in something that had a smoke or had something that could deal with planes on its own. Okay, so we see planes, we see where they're coming in. This is your aerial detection. What is the plane going to do at this point? He's come across the center. He's either A, going to fly toward enemy ships to damage farm. It's absolutely possible. CVs like damage too. Or B, he's going to turn to catch some kind of spotting, whatever. So he's going to come over here, he's going to turn left, or he's going to come over here, he's going to turn right. If this dude turns right, he sees you. Now you've got a CV that knows where you are, that probably wants your dick, and you're going to have to figure out how to deal with that. We'll see if that happens. It does not. He turns out, does encounter the Ognivoy, so now he's got a target. I see something. Ognivoy, if you look, your AA can't even reach him. Hipper has doesn't have AA for this. Bismarck doesn't have AA for this. Whatever the fuck that is, maybe on the back half. So because the destroyer went full fucking speed ahead, left his other dudes behind until not knowing where the planes were gonna be, they might have came over here. In which case, you know what's going on, you make an informed decision. But he made a decision without information that's now gotten him caught. He's going to pop a fighter. I don't know if the Ognivoy has AA that's even worth a shit. So for all I know, the Ognivoy is just going to have his AA on lighting himself or whatever, which is going to allow the Sanzang, because you can see like the planes are on top of him. So I mean, AA on or not, he's lit. Ognivoy turns out, you open up, which is cool. That's some bro move there. He's coming in on this line. What does that give him? So if we look at what this means, as he starts to turn out, whatever, the rocket reticle for a Sanzang is broadside, and this is what it's going to look like. Now there are six shots that can happen anywhere in this reticle. So might get hit, might not get hit. Pure fucking RNG. If you're shooting at a target that's bow or ass in, you're completely at the whim of RNG. You can have a perfect lined up shot and all that shit, and they just go off to the sides of it. So haha, get fucked. And looks like the Ognivoy has turned out in preparation for the strike. And the Ognivoy took no damage. Saipan was not able to continue the attack. You were able to kill a plane, or at least you got a plane kill ribbon. Because they have like 2300 health. Ognivoy got something, and also when he attacked into the Ognivoy, he walked into the AA of the Cleveland, the Bismarck, the Hipper. Not able to continue that. So now we've got bombs coming out. Has a rough idea of where the Ognivoy is. Has a rough idea of where you are. You are pointing in the direction away from any of this. That's okay. It's okay for you to go take a position and put yourself at risk. But risk, reward. You're putting yourself at risk, hoping for a reward, probably A. But if he goes for the Ognivoy, he's gonna have fucking 3 ships on top of him. So the Ognivoy is like, there is no target there. If he turns off and finds you, however, you are a target. Which is exactly what happened. So he turned off because he can't go in on 3 ships. Saipan is actually CV on hard mode. It's very hard to play this, especially against clustered up ships. You come out with 6 little planes and they pop like firecrackers against any kind of coordinated AA. So he has to bail, and he runs across you, which means he's going to be on top of you. All right, so real quick, you have not used priority sector. What does priority sector do? In this case, we'll use red for enemy planes or whatever, right? So you've got 6 enemy planes, and priority sector does 5% of current health damage. So 10% of 6 planes would be 60%. 5% is going to be 30%. So right now, if we watch whatever your little damage ticks are, whatever, it's like 30 damage, 30 damage, 30 damage. If these planes have 2,500 health, which is, I'm just going to bullshit and say they do, that's 15,000. 15,000 total, whatever. And you're going to deal 5% of 15,000. So 10 would be 1,500, which means 750 damage is what you get for pressing the button. And if we look, oh, sorry, I didn't switch to the thingy. So if we see the six planes, 5% of current health, if we assume these each have 2,500 health, that's going to be 15,000. 5% of that's going to be 750. So what that amounts to is basically 30% of a single plane. Is that a plane kill? No. Is it closer to dead? Yes. And the Saipan does not have a lot of resources to begin with, so any little bit matters. So let's see how much damage you do per tick here. You did 170. So that's what you do per tick. 170, 170, 170. For the low price of just hitting a button, boop, you hit O. You do 750 to this dude. And your AA is buffed on that side for a little bit, so technically you're kicking out a little more. So use all the tricks at your disposal. Alright. So here is... I don't have the best answers for you on how to dodge the bombs. Bombs are coming up from behind you. They're going to be tracking you. So let's go back to paint again. And kind of like... give a conceptual understanding of what's about to happen. So you... will make you green in this instance. You're here. Enemy planes are coming in. Alright, so you are going to start turning. Because you don't want to get struck. You're going to hard turn, because if you show broadside, that's good. US planes are extremely maneuverable. So they're going to come in here and they're going to start to turn to follow you. When they do that, let's say you are going, 30 knots, 40 knots, whatever, because you're in a French ship, so you're going real fast. So what they're going to end up doing is they're going to place the reticle. And then they're going to start the attack. So their planes are going to go up, and then they're going to come down, and they're going to chase you and chase you and chase you and bomb you there. But they need this distance to aim. So one of the things you can do is, once they start their attack, if you visually watch the planes, I think there might be a sound cue as well, is that you've started to turn... the enemy has started to chase you as soon as they start to go up, because they're going to be swinging around to try to catch you, because ideally you're not going to stop turning. Most people don't. As soon as they go up, you cut the other way. And that forces a broadside interaction. Oh, son of a bitch! And they're just going to take the angle they're given, because they don't get to chase you. That's one option. You bait until they start their attack, and then you hard cut the other way to force a broadside interaction. The other way... is you're coming out, you're running, they're coming up behind you, they're gonna lead you because they have to aim, they have to go from point A to point B to aim, and as they start that attack, you cut your engine and you don't continue forward, and they overfly, or they take a badly aimed shot. Because at this point, the planes have gotten to you, they've gotten on top of you, they're gonna attempt to strike you, potentially this gonna hurt. So what options do you have? It's either a broadside juke, or it's going to be trying to speed juke. Or you could go slow so that they start their run assuming you're sitting still, and then you just rocket forward and fuck! Maybe they can't chase you fast enough. Which sounds silly. What, planes can't go fast enough? But the way that dive bombers work, they go up and then they come down. They're not going sideways. They're pretty contained into what they're doing. So... did try to turn at the last second. You got oofed.
The ship is on fire.
It's for about 9k. You don't have a heal. And let's continue to look at what's going on here. You're running away from a Cleveland. Cleveland has about a 7-kilometer assistance range. So he might be taking some pot shots over here at the enemy planes. If instead of turning out from this, if you were able to... because I think you were, if we backed this up, I think you were coming over here because you were looking at ACAP. Oh, fuck, there are bombers. If you were able to keep turning and get back to the Cleveland, there's... how do I put this? If we think of it this way, so the enemy has the 6 planes, whatever. When he attacks you, he uses 2 of them. They leave. They go home. They fuck off. You probably don't have the AA to kill 1. Maybe over time you have the AA to kill 1. Because again, 2,500 damage. I mean, your priority sector does 750. You're hitting 170, 170, like, so, I don't know, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, maybe you kill a plane. Your AA sucks. It's not a strength of the ship. Which means theoretically he can bomb you again and again. And if you kill one of the planes, the last drop's going to be half potential damage. That's a serious amount of oof. Like a serious amount of oof. If instead of cutting out toward A, oh fuck, there's planes, turning, if you were able to complete the turn, which granted, we just talked about the broadside juke, but if you're able to complete the turn to force, well, sorry, I guess we'll make this green because you know, we're the good guys. The planes are the bad guys. If the planes come over, spot you, and then they start to turn as well, if you have friendly ships, a Cleveland, a Bismarck, a something, and you're going to force these planes to enter the drop animation, drop, hit you, fuck, much swearing involved, and then go forward directly into this, those planes are going to get shreked. 2,500 damage sounds like a lot, but when you realize that the Cleveland does like 600 damage a second in close range, the Bismarck does like 400 damage a second in close range, those numbers get bled off really quickly. So you're trying to use the team at least in where they're going to result in going. When you made this last turn, where you started drag them and then you turned out, you're turning away from a Cleveland, and honestly, in a destroyer, you go faster than the Cleveland, which means you're going to continue to isolate out. And I mean, the CV, he knows where you are. He's got your scent. You know, the dog's got the fangs into the thigh. So he's gonna come back in because he's still gonna have planes. See, you haven't even been able to kill one. Again, use priority sector where able. And because he's coming in front, you have the best chance of getting a juke. Which you do. You get hit, you're gonna burn.
The ship is on fire.
You are coming back to the Cleveland. He doesn't have a way back in, he recalls. And that's where you politely say, fuck you, CV. Sure. Okay, so 2 options. You move on with life. Whatever, I'm gonna go over to A. I'm gonna do my thing. You've got 5,000, well, 6,000 health now. You should probably repair the fire. But you're also still spotted by this. You're still spotted by the fighter. And if you're going this way and the Cleveland and Kansas are going that way, then that tells the Senzang to come back and to kill you. Because he sees you, right now, he sees you, you're detected, you are pointed in the opposite direction of anybody that can give a flying fuck about whether you live or die. And your AA is not that great to begin with. He's just gonna come over and murder you. I mean, it sucks to be hampered by, oh man, just why the fuck do I have to live on top of my teammates? Fuck you, CV, why am I in this position? But let's look at something else. Here's an Ognivoy. Realistically, are you going to be able to cap Bravo? You don't have a smoke. The CV could light you. There's a bunch of ships. Maybe, maybe not. Probably not. What if you were next to the kid? What if you were where the Benson was right now? Were you able to be over here? You might be harassed by a CV, but the Benson has seen that the CV is down here, giving no fucks about the Benson's position. What if the Benson was here and you were there? CV's fucking with the Benson. Benson could smoke. Benson could do whatever the hell he's gonna do. Meanwhile, you're off doing whatever you're going to do. CV can only be in one place at a time. Use that. But right now, you are a wounded duck that is literally spotted, being shown wandering into traffic. So I would fully expect the planes to show up. There they are. So we've got rocket planes coming in. He saw you running away from this. Cleveland's like, oh no, fuck, buddy. He's turning around to come and save you, but you're isolated. And pretty soon, I think you're gonna walk into an Odin in Massachusetts if you don't get dunked by planes first. Okay, so
The ship is on fire.
Like we were talking about with the aerial detection, you need about 3 kilometers. Well, you have 3.3. Okay. He knew where you were. He knew where you were last oriented. He had a pretty good idea on that line. He came in on the line, and as soon as he was detected, as in saw the exclamation mark, he pops the firing stud, even though he can't see you, and then he sees you, corrects, and comes in for the strike. Secondly, when you are... Let's go back to this again. Secondly, when you are... Okay, so we got the island, whatever. You're over here, you're going in this direction. CV's coming in, he's burning, he's looking for your soul. If you turn in this direction, you cut the engagement window. So when he trips over you here, suddenly you're going this way, he's going this way. That's going to usually result in an overfly. If instead you cut out to mitigate the rockets, because you don't, you want to show the ass to the rockets so they might miss or whatever, which is perfectly fine. But if you're going this way, then when he comes in, he gets to chase you, and you end up meeting further down, which also means that he has more time to aim. So if you think of how to play Destroyer against a CV, it's almost like Joust, where, you know, you've got a dude on a horse going this way and you're coming this way. Can you slip underneath, take a few pot shots, bam, hit him with priority sector, cut your AA back off, go dark, and then he's gonna swing out, try to come back in on you, and you start playing a Joust game. Now the Fantasque is not gonna have an incredible amount of turning, so it's not gonna be able to just constantly ramp 180 and go right back underneath the planes. But realistically, you know, if you had the Cleveland or something helping save your ass, Saipan would find a different target. Might target the Cleveland, maybe, but Saipan is limited in what it can interact with, although it could probably strike a Cleveland if the Cleveland was isolated. So you did get a hit, but now you got an Odin and a Massachusetts up your ass, plus you got a fighter you can't kill, and there's shells to take you out. I hope your entire family gets sold into slavery. So, you know, there's expressing your undying love for the CV mechanics in the game, as people are wont to do when they get nailed. But, yes. Alright. So, I do want to ask White Tiger, was any of that useful for you? Was any of that helpful? It's not about saying like, bruh, it's extremely easy to fight against the CV. They have built-in weaknesses. CVs are powerful. If you are on the opposite side of an experienced CV driver, he's gonna know some tricks. He's gonna come for you. It's gonna hurt. But it's not to say that you don't have tricks as well. And the biggest trick that you have is your map placement. What are you doing? What do you have with people? Because if he's gonna come for you, can you fall back? I got friends, bitch. Oh, then he fucks off. He goes to find a different target. Where can I influence something? Where can I do something in my CV? And if you're gonna back up, I got friends. Find a different target. And then you push up again, and you do whatever you're gonna do. Up, planes, 10 kilometers away, you see them. Back up, I got friends. What if it's an FDR? I do have a thing for that, which I can link you. In general, the FDR is an outlier. It has an extreme amount of health, which means you need an extreme amount of protection to bully it off. Even still, you don't bully an FDR. Not in the sense that, like, you know, not today, Satan, but you can drag an FDR down to 1 to 2 strikes as opposed to 5. If you're in an isolated battleship and your AA is not that great, the FDR is going to come in and hit you and maybe lose a plane, and then spin around and hit you and maybe it didn't lose a plane that time, and then spin around and hit you and maybe lose a plane. And because it has 14 planes and it drops with 2 planes per strike, he can strike up to 7 times unless you're killing planes. So realistically, you need something like probably 12 to 14 puffs of flak, which sounds like a lot, but that's 2 to 3 ships, or potentially 1 very spec'd AA ship. The Austin can kick out 13 flak puffs, and the FDR does not dodge flak very well. Okay. Your initial thought process was that you didn't want to abandon an entire flank, especially because no destroyer was an A. Makes sense. The only problem with I guess he's gone. Well, I don't know when he left. That's too bad. The only problem with the trying to hold the flank alone in the Fantasque is that outside of maybe being able to throw some torps at something, you're not going to be able to engage it. I mean, you don't have a smoke. You can open water gunboat for a while, but 1, there is a CV, and 2, I mean, you gonna open water solo 2 battleships? It seems unlikely. Okay. Was that helpful at all? I don't know. I guess he left, so I sent him a message. Okay, nope, he is still here. Sorry. I looked in the user list and I didn't see you. It was somewhat helpful. You just despise how limited your gameplay is in the Fantasque when the CV focuses you. So, one thing that's worth remembering, right? Let's look at something real quick, right? Let's look at what the Holland is. And I realize the Holland is an outlier. Don't worry, I'm not trying to like, oh, the Holland can kill planes. That's not my goal here. If we look at what the Holland has, if you're within 4 kilometers of the Holland, it does 400 damage a second. Now remember, the Fantasque, I mean, if we look at it real quick, obviously that's tier 10 and this will be tier 7. But I mean, we're just looking at numbers is what we're doing. Within 4 kilometers, this does 150. That's what it does. If we look at the Oland, which is a tier 8, that one does 150 plus 74. That seems actually kind of low. Holland, however, does 400. If you go out even further to 6, it's 174. What does this mean? Holland is fucking great AA. So if you pick like a fighting game, you'll have some people that they do a lot of damage, but they're slow. You'll have people that do little damage, but they're super fast. So they're going to strike multiple times, whatever. You're gonna have balancing characteristics. Some dude has more health, or takes less damage, or deals more damage, or all that sorts of shit. Well, in this case, the Holland has fucking incredible AA, but its torpedoes are fast, but they don't do much damage. Its guns are fast firing, but they're not the highlight of the ship. Like, they're not the amazing thing about the ship. She's not very maneuverable. She's pretty sluggish. Like, she loses a lot to have good AA. So that's actually, if you're bringing the ship, that's one of the reasons you bring the ship. If we look at this, I don't have the Musashi, but the Yamato has pretty terrible AA, and the Musashi has even worse AA. But if we think about it this way, if there's no CV, does the Musashi have any weaknesses for being a tier 9 version of the Yamato? No. It's a tier 10 ship in a tier 9 match. Its one weakness is AA, but there's no CV. So there's no weakness. What did you lose? Nothing. Nothing at all. Now, it's not to say you're going to see a carrier every single fucking game, but what are the weaknesses? Like, what is the win condition for a French destroyer? French destroyers are either A, open water gunboats, or B, ambushers. They sling around an island because they have to use an island to keep their detection low, and they run some bitch down and torp them and murder them. Italians might end up having a similar type of DD, but they'll be using smoke instead. Whereas these guys, they have a special saturation mechanic. They take reduced amounts of damage when they get past, when they get saturated. So you can just take a full health DD and just YOLO a motherfucker and kill him. But there's trade-offs. You have shitty AA. You do not have smoke. So if a CV rides your ass, you're going to get hurt. The CV's going to tell their team, hey, this ambush dude is over here. Don't go there. You're going to get hurt. It's a balancing characteristic. So it's like this specifically sucks dick against CVs, which means you're going to have to play in a situation where you can use what you have, but still give yourself an out. And in that game, your out was the Cleveland. But you ran away from the Cleveland. And then your out was the Cleveland again, and you ran further away from the Cleveland. And I realize it sucks. Man, I wish I could just do this I wish I could just do this alone. But if you've played like another game, if you played like World of Warcraft or something, you know, it's cool to be a rogue, but if you go into a dungeon, you die because you don't have healing. So you could bring a healer. Well, healer can't do damage. So the healer needs the rogue and the rogue needs the healer. They need each other. That's how it works. Rogues heal? Yeah, rogues don't heal like healers heal. I mean, they use bandages and they probably have some other little tricks, but in general, you know, somebody's going to have a strength and a weakness. Somebody else going to have a strength and a weakness. Camping in the Cleveland in your spawn is just boring. That's the problem you have with CVs. But that's not that's not your only choice. you don't have to just sit on top of the Cleveland. That's not the goal. All right, so let's try to look at it a different way. Here's the map. Here's the enemy CV. CV can only be at one place at one time. In that game, I believe there were 4 destroyers. 4 destroyers, 4 different places of the map. Plus there's other ships, etc. If the CV is over here, where is the CV not? The CV is not over here. If the CV is over here, where is the CV not? The CV is not over here. You have to play on the assumption that that's something that you need to remember. So when you start to move up and do things, this cruiser comes forward and takes a position. This cruiser comes forward, takes a position. This battleship open waters, this battleship open waters. People do whatever the fuck they're gonna do. And you're gonna come over here. Okay, because you want to be on the flank. You know, you're French, you like to shoot at range, awesome. You have 10-kilometer detection for planes. So assuming you're not hidden behind an island, you're gonna see the planes coming for you, which means you fall back, you use cover. Once the planes have decided, fuck, I can't do this, they go somewhere else, you flex back out, you do whatever the hell you're gonna do. There's nothing to say that you can't back up and say, bro, I got friends, and then reassert yourself when they fuck off. I mean, just like, yeah, almost like in a movie, you know? If there's a bully, they want to pick on the kid when they're alone. They don't want to pick on the kid when they got friends, because bullies don't like fair fights. The goal is to get the CV to strike a different moron. No. There's nothing to say that everybody on the field has to be playing badly, but there is something to say for you giving the enemy a good shot. And what being broadside to a surface ship that can clap you is, in CV terms, is putting yourself in a situation where you can't fight back against a CV. If you're going to put yourself in a situation where you're not going to drive the CV away, then the CV is going to hurt you. If the CV calls your bluff. If the CV's off somewhere else and doesn't call your bluff, you get away with it. Risk versus reward. Was it worth it?